Maryland basketball proved they're a top 25 team after losing to Marquette.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net, so make sure you guys head over to InsideBlackandGold.net for all your latest Terps news. I honestly thought that Maryland basketball proved that they're going to be a top 25 team despite the loss to Marquette. I felt Maryland was the better team. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want, but I don't know what you guys thought and what you guys watched and how your eye kind of determined what your takeaway from that game was. But my takeaway was a couple different things. One, I think Maryland basketball is going to be a top 25 team for a lot of the year. We're going to have to pick up some wins here, and it might show more when we get to Big Ten play. But I think that they have a really good chance of being a top 25 team throughout the year. I also thought we were better than Marquette. I thought we were the better team. I thought we were the better team for most of the game. I thought Marquette had a couple of runs that really hurt us, but I didn't take away that Maryland was worse than Marquette. I thought Maryland was the better team. I thought we had a couple more guys, but I do want to give credit to Marquette for winning that game on the road. But I just think that we're really solid this year. We have everything we need, not just to make March Madness, but to make a run in March, as well as to win the tournament or to win the Big Ten. I'm not gonna say win the tournament yet, but after the Marquette game, I really do believe we're that type of team. And I saw a much more balanced team than last year, whereas when I watched Marquette, I kind of watched one guy kind of give us a lot of trouble. And if we were just able to contain Cam Jones, who's one of the best players in the conference, a little bit more, I thought we would have had a really good shot at winning the game and a really good shot at beating Marquette. But he went for 28. He's the best player in the country. So I'm not, or one of the best players in the country, one of the best players in the Big East. I'm not surprised that it was really hard to stop him, but he went 3 of 5 from the three-pointer, 10 of 18 overall. And when you watch him, he was probably the best player on the court for a lot of the game. A couple of the Maryland guys could have argued that, but we just couldn't stop Cam Jones. He had a night, and that's going to happen in basketball sometimes. You're going to get a guy that sometimes just plays at a high level, and it's really hard to beat that team because of that. But I still believe that watching most of the game, Maryland felt like the better team. I don't know if you guys felt like that. I just felt like we were more balanced, like we had more guys that could do something. I just think that we struggled a little bit. I thought Marquette's defense was really good, but I thought offensively, I honestly thought Maryland was a little bit better. And some of the numbers actually do show that Maryland actually was a little bit of the better team, but there's a couple reasons why I think that we lost the game. When you look at the shooting percentages, Maryland shot a better percentage from the field and the three-point line. But this is where I think really hurt us overall. We shot 52.7% from the field compared to Marquette's 44.8. We shot 36.8 from the three-point line, which is absolutely huge. We have struggled from the three-point line for so long now, or in terms of last year, it felt like forever. We just couldn't shoot the ball. But the fact we almost shot 37% from three is exactly where we need to be. And if we shoot that type of percentage, I think we're ever going to have a really good shot at winning basketball games. I also think when you look at the numbers, when you look at field goal percentage, three-point percentage, Marquette only shot 34.8 compared to our 36.8 and 44.8 from the field compared to our 52.7. But I think the reason that Marquette beat us, it's simple. Basketball isn't an overly complicated thing when you really look at it. I think it's a pretty simple reason why they beat us. Marquette only turned over the ball 8 times. It's tough to beat a top 15 team in the country when they only turn it over 8 times. And they're a disciplined team. They are breaking in a lot of new guys. I like their coach. He's a really good coach. But the fact that they only turn it over 8 times, it's hard to beat a team when they're only going to turn it over. That's just the way it is in college basketball. And the fact that we turn it over almost or it was 13 times compared to their 8, to me that was the difference in the game. If we don't turn over the ball 13 times and they turn over a little bit more and those turnovers even out a little bit, let's say they have 10 and we have 11, I think we win that game. It's tough to win when you lose the turnover margin by 5 because you're going to see in some of these basketball games against high level teams, the margin of error is so small. But the fact that we turn over the ball more is something that we're going to be able to clean up. The fact that our shooting looks good, I think that we were the better team. I think you could have argued that Marquette maybe was a little bit better than us. But if you watched it, it felt like Maryland had a little bit more juice. It just did. And Marquette's ranked 15th in the country. And so that leads me to believe we're a top 25 team. We have everything we need. We can play different ways. And to me, 2 guys in particular on our team were really impressive and have me feeling really good about the basketball team this year. Of course, Derek Queen, he lived up and surpassed the expectations in his first big game, first real game, I would say, going 9 of 13 for 24 points. Had 7 rebounds, 3 assists as well, 2 blocks. He was a really high end player. And there were times that he looked like the best player on the court. I know I said Cam Jones was overall the best player on the court. Derek Queen had times where he looked like he was the best player on the court. And he put up big numbers for us that came close to allowing us to win that game. We just couldn't put up as many stops at the end as we probably wanted to and just couldn't get over the edge in that game. So we have a top big in the country, and then Jacoby Gillespie. He looks like the next good Maryland guard. And we've had a long line of these really talented Maryland basketball guards, whether you think back a couple years ago to Melo Trimble, Anthony Cowan, as well as Jameer Young, of course, last year. And Jacoby Gillespie looks right up in line as the next type of guy for Maryland basketball. Had 24 points, had 4 3-pointers for us, which was pretty big. 4 of 9 from the 3-point arc, which is really good, and 10 of 17 from the field. He overall had a really high level game, and he also had 2 steals. And so I look at those 2 guys, Derek Queen and Jacoby Gillespie, and I say, if those 2 players play like that consistently, there's no reason why we can't be as good as anybody in the Big Ten. I really do believe that. I think we can be a really good team if those 2 guys play consistently like that. Now, there are things that were concerning. Deshaun Harris-Smith missed those 2 free throws at the end of the game. He's got to figure that out, or he's not going to be able to be in the game at the end of the game. He continues to he did hit 1 3, went 1 of 1 from his 3. He honestly didn't have a bad game. He just, those free throws really blow it out of proportion for him. Other than that, 4 or 5 from the, thought he did some really good things. I just think that when you look at it, we almost beat Marquette with Julian Reese, who going into the year, a lot of people probably thought was our best player, only scored 2 points. And so the fact that Julian Reese only scored 2 points and we were almost able to beat Marquette, I think makes us feel good. The fact that Julian Reese wasn't even a contributor, it's not like he had a terrible game. He just wasn't a contributor. He didn't really have to be, and we were still almost able to beat the number 15 team in the country. I really believe that this team's deep. There's going to be nights where some guys go off and other guys go off, but I think this team's going to win a lot of games. I think we have the talent. I think we can shoot the ball. I think we ran into a Marquette team early on in the season that's really hard to beat. Now, they play Purdue tonight, so that'll be interesting to see in terms of the Big Ten, the 2 Big Ten teams, Maryland and Purdue, how they match up against them. But I also like to read into the Vegas lines, and Purdue is what? They just got a huge win. They're top 10 team in the country. And Marquette's a 5.5-point favorite against Purdue. And you looked at it, Maryland was 2-point favorites against Marquette, even though they were home, and Marquette gets Purdue at home. So a little bit of that line comes at being at home, but not that much. And so you look at it and where they value it, and I would argue Vegas thinks Maryland's the best team out of those three. It's an interesting thing to look at. I think this team has a lot more talent than a lot of people think. We have the guard play, we have the two bigs, we have shooters around. We have a good team, I think, this year. And I really think we're going to be a top 25 team once we start getting into Big Ten plays and getting some wins. We have a game tonight that I'll talk about a little bit later. I think the one big thing is the Villanova game on Sunday. That's going to have to be a win if we want to continue, if we want to feel good about our program. But I honestly think the Maryland basketball team is a really good spot despite the loss. You don't always like to have a ton of moral victories, but this is one where I do feel like the Terps had a moral victory that made sense for the Terps. Billy Edwards announced that he will be back next year, and Coach Loxley announced that. We'll talk about that after this ad from Roy and the Game Time app. Locked On College Network. Locked On Terps fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You've heard us all talk about Roy this season and how they are revolutionizing the NIL industry. Roy allows you, the fan, to have a say in who gets the NIL money. And here's what I absolutely love about Roy. You get your money back if that player transfers. Roy is helping us keep our team intact, and it's actually good for the game long term. You can show support by choosing any player. I'm choosing Roman Hemby this weekend by depositing a little appreciation onto that player's account. To do that, download the Roy app. You can see what logo looks like. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can go to joinroy.com. Now let's spotlight the Roy Locked On Player of the Week. I'm picking Roman Hemby. I thought he had a really good game. Despite the loss for the Terrapins, created a lot of rushing yards and receiving yards. Overall, I thought I had a high-level game. And we're going to throw some money into his account on Roy. Every contribution counts. 10, 20 bucks, it all adds up and is going to help your favorite players stay put. Join me and show love for Roman Hemby. Download the Roy app to go to joinroy.com today. Use promo code Locked On. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessaries. Voids where prohibited. Go to joinroy.com for full terms. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I've been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time has deals on tickets right after the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Billy Edwards is going to be back next year for Maryland football, and Coach Loxley sounds pretty confidently about him being the starter next year. I don't know if you guys saw the comments that came out today, but Coach Loxley talked about how Billy Edwards was going to be back, and he was going to be, it sounds like, the quarterback next year. Now, a lot of people are thinking about Malik Washington, four-star Malik Washington, and what's he going to be next year for us? How good is he going to be? And Loxley had a quote, and he said, well, let's see. Jalen Hurts was a true freshman. He started. Tua Tagovailoa started as a true freshman. Juice Williams, I coached him as a true freshman at Illinois. He started as a freshman. The system is a quarterback-friendly system, but the good thing is that, you know what, we played true freshmen and we played returning starters at the position. And one good thing is they're all going to get coached, and they're going to get coached and developed like we've shown in this system. And then he went on to say, also, I'm excited about Billy returning in the system for second starting season, possibly. I'm excited for the unknown people that you referenced to be here. So there's a lot of interesting points going along with what Coach Loxley is saying about Billy Edwards being back. Now, I've been saying MJ Morse should be playing the last 2 games. This almost solidifies. I'm almost certain MJ Morse will be gone. It just is what it is. In today's transfer portals, he's too good. Like, he should probably leave. If I was his mentor or somebody close to him, I'd tell him, you got to get out of College Park. And that's just the way it is. Because clearly Coach Loxley doesn't believe in him. He didn't mention him in his press conference. He hasn't played him yet, despite us only having one Big Ten win. He hasn't gotten a chance, despite Billy Edwards looking pretty poor the last couple of weeks. And we're not winning games, and somehow MJ Morse doesn't get an opportunity. And I think it's almost certain that MJ Morse is gone after next year. He's probably disappointed that he didn't get a chance this year. It'd be one thing, I always say, it'd be one thing if Billy Edwards was killing it and we were a good team right now in the Big Ten, but that's just not the way it is. So I still believe MJ Morse should get an opportunity. But clearly, Coach thinks Billy Edwards is the best quarterback. And I'm not going to say I know more than Coach Loxley, but I do say I don't know exactly what goes into that decision because I'm watching the games and I'm saying, I don't know why we're waiting, why we can't play MJ Morse. We're out of bowl eligibility. But it sounds like Billy Edwards is going to be back next year. And that brings up a really interesting conversation that we're going to talk a whole lot about this offseason. Who really is the quarterback? To me, I see it how they do it a lot in the NFL. Take the Patriots, for example, this year. They draft Drake May third in the draft, and they have and they decide that Drake May's not going to start the season. Instead, they start their vet, Jacoby Brissett, who's been a solid player in the NFL, but they know he's not the future of their program. They give Jacoby Brissett what 3, 4, 5 games, however the amount was. And then he starts to not look awesome. And then they decide to go to their young guy, and he's ready to go. He's shown a lot of flashes of what he can be. I think it can be similar to that. I think Billy Edwards could come in. Mike Loxley says Billy's the starter, blah, blah, blah. He's going to play. The first couple of games we let Billy play. He hits a tough spot. He doesn't look great. We let Malik Washington get in there once, and Billy Edwards never gets back in, and Malik Washington takes the job. That's how I see it going if Billy Edwards wants to come back. Billy Edwards is smart. He's not dumb. He knows that Malik Washington is going to be breathing down his neck, and if he felt like he couldn't hold him off, maybe he would go play somewhere else. But I also think a guy like Billy Edwards, I think his best option could stay at Maryland to stay at Maryland because clearly Coach Loxley believes in him, has a lot of trust, or he would have given MJ Morse an opportunity to play. And that's just the way I see it. That's just the way I believe it probably would happen. So I think it's an interesting conversation when you're talking about those two guys and who is going to be the starter next year. And it's going to be something we talk about a ton. This isn't going to be the last time we talk about it. But I think a lot of people might have thought that Billy Edwards could be gone. MJ Morse is going to transfer. Cameron Edge already announced he's going to be in the portal. I think a lot of people thought Malik Washington would just get handed the keys. But clearly Billy Edwards is going to be back next year. So it's going to be made for a healthy competition, maybe competition. He did add on that sneaky comment at the end. He said, and also I'm excited about Billy returning in the system for a second starting season, possibly. So I think that possibly referred to, he's not going to say Billy Edwards is the starter for next season yet. If Billy Edwards had was playing at a higher level, I think he would have a better opportunity to say that. But Mike Loxley wasn't going to commit to that. So I think that part of the comment was interesting that Loxley said. Let's talk about Maryland basketball's game tonight. I hope a lot of you guys are seeing this before the game, but let's talk about who they play, what I'm kind of expecting. I'll talk to you guys about that after this ad from Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including an unlimited plan. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get a 3 months premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer, your new 3 month premium wireless plan just for 15 months, $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/thoughts on college. That's mintmobile.com/thoughts on college. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/locked on college. 45 upfront payment required and new customers on the first 3 month plans only. Speed slower above 40 GB on unlimited plan. Additional taxes and fees and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. So Maryland has an interesting game tonight against a team that they should absolutely beat. But here's a couple things that I highlighted and that I want to look at for tonight. I think this is a game where Maryland's almost 30 point, or they are 30 point, uh, 30 point favorites. I was going to say underdogs, but they're definitely not 30 point underdogs. And I think Maryland should just about be in that vicinity. They're playing a team that's just not very good. But there's a couple different things I want to look out for. So we play Kinesis tonight, and there's a couple different things I'm be looking for. I want to see Malachi Palmer a little bit more. I'm not saying he should be in the rotation, but this is a game where I want to see him a little bit, and I think Kevin Willard will absolutely mix him in. And these are one of those games where we're going to win. Like that's just what it is. I want to see how a guy like Malachi Palmer plays in this type of situation where he could get a lot of minutes. I think he's a talented kid, but I haven't seen a lot from him yet. He got mixed in the other games, didn't get mixed in against Marquette. And I'm not saying he should be in the rotation, but I think that this is a night where he's a guy that's a future big piece of our program potentially. So I want to see how he plays tonight as a young guy that I haven't been able to watch yet. Obviously, Derek Queen gets a ton of minutes, plays a lot, but I want to see how Malachi Palmer plays. Another thing I want to watch tonight is Maryland had to go to a 4-around-1 kind of set. I think a lot of people thought we would just be a 3-guard, 2 big man set, especially late in the game. But Maryland had to alter their lineup because it wasn't working against Marquette to 1 big and really 4-around Derek Queen. And Julian Reese didn't play a lot down the stretch. And I want to see against Kinesis, can we run a 2 big lineup again? Is that going to be something that we're going to have to do a lot? Is this 4-around-1 because of the spacing? And I think it's possible that that's something that we have to do. I think it's a team like Kinesis. Luckily, they're a lot smaller than us, and we have a huge size advantage over them. So having both Queen and Reese in there might be beneficial. But when we play Villanova on Sunday, that's something that may not be as easy to do. So it's interesting because I watched Marquette kind of make a switch, and we had a lot of good looks when we were in that 4-round-1 because Derek Queen's super talented, but you also want Julian Reese on the floor because he's one of your best players as well. So I think that's something else that I'm going to be looking at before this game. A couple things that I think we have to do and able to, I'll say, cover the spread. I think that we got to use Queen and Reese. They're just smaller than us. We have a huge size advantage. I was reading about it. They're not close to us in stature. So I think when you look at a team like Kinesis that's 0-4 that hasn't played good basketball, you just got to be bigger than them, and you are bigger than them. So make that size, make that count. So I think that's something that could be interesting for the Terps. I want to see kind of how they play together. I think they still need reps at playing together at the same time in an actual game. So I think this can be beneficial. I also think they're a good 3-point shooting team. So if you run them off the 3-point line and just use your length, I think you have a good chance at defending this team. I think they want to shoot a lot of threes, and they're pretty efficient at it, but I don't think they're great at a lot of other areas on offense. So don't let them get that 3 ball going, but they have shot a decent percentage. So I think if you force them to score in other ways, run them off the 3-point line, which we see all the time in basketball, they kind of rely do or die, live by the 3 rather. And I think Maryland has a good chance of stopping that. And if they stop that, I think Maryland could win by 35, maybe even 40 points. This Kinesis team is pretty bad. So I like our chances there. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.